Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine if your thoughts weren't just, fleeting ideas buzzing around in your head. What if they were the actual blueprints for your life? What if everything you experience, your health, your success, maybe even your relationships, your peace of mind, what if it all began right inside your head?
Yeah.
Shaped by, like, the unseen currents of your mind.
It's a pretty striking idea, isn't it?
It really is. The whole notion that your inner world literally constructs your outer reality.
It truly is. And what's fascinating here is how this kind of ancient wisdom, it just converges so profoundly with, well, modern understanding of mindset and human potential. We're about to dive into a realm where these internal mental states, they have really tangible external consequences.
Right.
This concept, it really challenges our default mode, Seeing ourselves as just products of our environment. Instead, it positions us as the architects, the sculptors, really, of our own experience.
Yeah.
It seems like a simple premise, but its power, when you truly grasp it and apply it, it's just immense.
Absolutely. And today we're doing a deep dive into a foundational text that lays out this philosophy with, honestly, stunning clarity and directness. James Allen's As a Man Thinketh. Now, if you've heard of it, you might know it's not some long, dense philosophy book. Not at all.
No, it's very compact.
It's more like a potent distilled essence, like a highly concentrated shot of pure wisdom, kind of designed to shake up how you view yourself and your world in a fundamental way. Our sources for today are direct, powerful excerpts from this remarkably compact work.
Indeed. It's a book that, well, despite its brevity, it's had this quiet but immense influence over the last century. It's become a true classic in, personal development, philosophical thought. Our mission today, though, is to go far beyond just quoting Allen. We really want to understand these lessons, make them easy to grasp, and show you, our listener, the how. How do these profound principles translate into actionable insights? Things that can genuinely transform your daily experiences. We're talking about practical tools here, things that can shift everything from your physical health to your career achievements, and maybe especially your overall sense of inner peace.
Exactly, because what's the point of just knowing this stuff intellectually if you can't actually put it into practice, right?
Right.
We're here to help you extract those core lessons, make them relatable, hopefully entertaining, and just incredibly easy to understand. Ultimately, showing you how to implement these profound ideas in your daily life for real, tangible change and genuine growth. So get ready for some serious aha moments, because here's where it gets really interesting as we start this deep dive. So let's kick off with the absolute core idea of As a Man Thinketh. It's all encapsulated in this incredibly powerful aphorism. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Now, when Allen uses that phrase, in his heart, he's not just talking about, fleeting emotions or romance or anything like that.
No, it's much deeper.
He's reaching for something far deeper. The profound foundational thoughts, beliefs, core convictions that truly live inside you, often kind of beneath the surface of your conscious awareness. This statement, he basically asserts, embraces the whole of a person's being. Every single condition, every circumstance of their life, a person is, quite literally, what they think.
Literally.
Your character. That's not just some random collection of traits you picked up. Allen says it's the complete sum, the crystallization of all your thoughts. It's an entire worldview, really, distilled into one sentence.
And this is where the profound implications really start to unfold, isn't it? Allen explains that just like a plant springs, inevitably from its seed, every single act, every experience, every condition, every outcome in your life springs directly from these often hidden seeds of thought.
Hidden seeds.
Yeah. It's not just about the conscious thoughts you might be mulling over right now. It's about those deeply ingrained, often unconscious thought patterns, the ones that govern your reactions, shape your choices, even dictate those seemingly spontaneous acts that feel like they come out of nowhere.
Right.
The metaphor he uses, it's beautiful but also stark to drive this point home, is act is the blossom of thought, and joy and suffering are its fruits. Thus does a man garner in the sweet and bitter fruitage of his own husbandry.
Husbandry.
Yeah.
Like farming your own mind.
Exactly. So, to put it plainly, your life, in essence, is the direct harvest of your thoughts. It's the result of what you've been cultivating, intentionally or maybe not, within the soil of your mind.
That's such a vivid image, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thoughts as seeds, actions as blossoms, joy or suffering as the fruit. It really powerfully drives home this idea of absolute personal responsibility. So what does this mean for you, our listener, in a practical sense?
Yeah, how do you use this?
It means you are not just reacting to the world around you. You are actively, continuously creating it from the inside out. If you're consistently experiencing struggle or lack, well, Alan suggests it might be an indication that you've been, maybe inadvertently, planting and nurturing seeds of struggle. Conversely, if you're experiencing joy, abundance, fulfillment, those are the natural fruits of positive, constructive, harmonious thought patterns.
It follows logically.
The call to action here is pretty clear.
Yeah.
It's about shifting from being just a passive recipient of your life's circumstances to becoming an active, conscious cultivator of your own inner garden. It asks you to stop and really examine what seeds you're allowing to take root in there.
Precisely. And this leads us straight to another critical point Alan makes with just absolute conviction.
Yeah.
This isn't about random chance or, fleeting luck. It's about immutable law. He states unequivocally that man is a growth by law, not artifice, meaning not by accident or some artificial construction. The principle of cause and effect, he argues, is as absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thought as it is in the tangible, material world we see around us.
So like physics for your mind.
Kind of, yeah, think of it like that. A noble character, for instance, isn't just a stroke of good fortune or divine favor. It's the natural, inevitable result of continued effort and right thinking and long-cherished association with godlike thoughts.
Continued effort.
Yeah.
Long cherished. It emphasizes persistence.
Exactly. And conversely, an ignoble character comes from the continued harboring of groveling thoughts. And by groveling, he really means those petty, base, self-defeating or sort of demeaning ideas we sometimes entertain.
It's like the law of gravity, but for your mental world. You can't really defy it. You can only understand it and, well, work with it. This concept, it radically removes the idea of fate or random luck from the picture and places the power firmly, completely in the individual's hands. It emphasizes consistency above all else. It's not enough to think positively for, like, a single day. It's about the continued effort, the long-cherished association with certain thought patterns. This really challenges common perceptions of destiny or blaming external factors, doesn't it?
It really does.
It means if you genuinely want to change your destiny or alter your external reality, the fundamental shift has to begin inward, not outward. It's a very empowering truth, but maybe sometimes an uncomfortable one, too.
And this raises a really important question for all of us, I think. If we truly accept this premise, then genuine, lasting change isn't about just wishing for things to be different or waiting for external circumstances to magically align.
Right, no magic wands.
No. It's about diligently, meticulously cultivating our inner world, much like a scientist understanding and working with natural laws. It requires this profound, often challenging shift from maybe a victim mindset to one of active, empowered responsibility. Take a moment, reflect on your own consistent thought patterns, especially those hidden unconscious ones that often drive your reactions. Are they genuinely serving the you aspire to become? This is where the real transformative work starts.
Which brings us to maybe the most empowering idea of all in Alan's little book. You are quite literally the master of your own destiny. He writes that man is the maker and master of his character, his condition, his environment, and ultimately his destiny.
Maker and master.
Yeah, as a being of power, intelligence, and love. And he capitalizes those words, which is interesting. He holds the key to every situation purely through his thoughts. You could literally make yourself what you will. It's about taking the reins, isn't it? No more feeling like a victim just swept along by circumstance, but realizing you're actually the chief architect, the master builder of your entire existence.
And this isn't just some feel-good platitude either. Alan provides a very practical roadmap for achieving this mastery. He says, and this is a really crucial insight, man is always the master, even in his weaker and most abandoned state.
Even then.
But in his weakness and degradation, he is the foolish master who misgoverns his household. Meaning, even when we feel totally helpless or controlled by outside forces, we are still choosing, maybe unconsciously, to misgovern our inner world.
That's a tough pill to swallow sometimes.
It can be, but he continues. When he begins to reflect upon his condition and to search diligently for the law upon which his being is established, he then becomes the wise master, directing his energies with intelligence and fashioning his thoughts to fruitful issues. This requires conscious self-analysis and direct experience. It's not passive acceptance, but active, deep digging into what he calls the mine of your soul.
The mine of your soul.
Yeah, he emphasizes, only by much searching and mining are gold and diamonds obtained, and man can find every truth connected with his being if he will dig deep into the mine of his soul. This really connects to the immense effort, the dedicated inquiry involved in true self-discovery and lasting transformation.
So how do you apply that daily?
Well, it means dedicating consistent time to self-reflection, to watching your thoughts, maybe without judging them at first, and trying to trace their effects back to their origins. Asking yourself, what unconscious thought patterns am I tolerating right now that are, well, misgoverning my household, as Alan puts it?
Exactly. It's about becoming a conscious master of your internal landscape, rather than just being swept along by unconscious habits or reacting blindly to external stuff. Owning your inner world. This powerful idea, thought-shaping character, it leads us directly to how it shapes everything around us. Because once you genuinely start to get a handle on your inner world, the external circumstances of your life begin, almost like magic sometimes, to align and fall into place. So if your mind is this incredibly powerful engine actively creating your reality, what does it practically look like to truly manage it? James Allen gives us one of his most enduring and vivid metaphors, the mind as a garden.
Ah, yes, a garden.
He says, man's mind may be likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild, but whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. Think about that. If you don't deliberately plant useful, productive seeds, thoughts of purpose, clarity, positive action, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will inevitably fall in.
They just blow in.
And just like in a physical garden, those weeds, negative, unproductive, impure thoughts, they will absolutely produce their own kind, choking out anything valuable you might have wanted to grow.
This metaphor is incredibly insightful because it really highlights the absolute necessity of active, ongoing engagement. Just like a diligent gardener cultivates their plot, meticulously weeding out unwanted plants and growing the flowers and fruits they desire.
Right.
So a person must tend the garden of their mind. This means weeding out all the wrong, useless, and impure thoughts and cultivating toward perfection the flowers and fruits of right, useful, and pure thoughts. It's not just about having good intentions. It's about active, ongoing mental hygiene.
So practically, how do you weed?
Well, for practical application, this could involve daily practices like thought stopping. When you catch a negative self-talk loop, you mentally visualize a stop sign or even just say cancel, cancel, then consciously redirect your attention.
Okay.
Or maybe limiting your exposure to harmful, distracting, or fear-mongering information, the kind of stuff that just plants weeds everywhere.
Yeah, guarding the gates.
Exactly. And on the cultivation side, it's about actively engaging with inspiring books, podcasts like this one, hopefully, or mentors, practicing gratitude daily, or setting aside time for positive visualization, actively planting the seeds of what you do want to grow.
I often think about this. How much time do we spend meticulously cleaning our homes or tuning our cars, even grooming ourselves, right? But how little attention do we sometimes pay to the cleanliness and cultivation of our inner garden?
It gets neglected.
The weeds of worry, doubt, self-pity, they grow silently, insidiously, taking over if we're not vigilant. And the interesting thing is, this isn't about blaming yourself for having a few weeds. Everyone has weeds.
Of course.
It's about empowering you to grab the metaphorical shovel, put on your gardening gloves, and start tending to that incredibly fertile, yet often neglected inner space.
And the profound reason this internal cultivation is so critical, Alan says, is because our circumstances are, in fact, the mirror of the soul.
The mirror. Wow.
He states, thought and character are one, and as character can only manifest and discover itself through environment and circumstance, the outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state. This is a radical assertion. There's no random luck. Your external circumstances are precisely and perfectly tuned, like an echo, to your inner state.
An echo.
And he adds, they are indispensable to his development, meaning even the challenging circumstances, they actually serve a purpose.
That's a truly profound point, isn't it? It means that even what we perceive as bad circumstances or what feels like bad luck, they aren't random events just happening to us.
No.
They serve a purpose to teach us, to refine us, ultimately, to help us grow. They're reflections of something deeply rooted within us. Alan puts it so clearly, shifting the locus of control. Man is buffeted by circumstances so long as he believes himself to be the creature of outside conditions.
Which is most of us, most of the time, right?
Yeah, probably. But when he realizes that he is a creative power and that he may command the hidden soil and seeds of his being out of which circumstances grow, he then becomes the rightful master of himself.
This raises a profoundly important question for self-reflection, doesn't it? Rather than fighting external conditions, rather than spending all our energy trying to change what's outside.
Which is exhausting.
Totally exhausting. How can we instead ask what hidden thought seed we've allowed to take root that might be contributing to these circumstances? It encourages deep introspection, a truly honest self-assessment. If you're struggling with something externally, maybe a persistent money issue, a difficult work situation, a recurring relationship pattern, Alan encourages you to pause and look inward.
Okay.
What inner thought patterns, what beliefs, what deeply held assumptions might be attracting or perpetuating those struggles? What specific lesson might this challenge hold for you? This isn't about self-blame, remember. It's about radical self-empowerment. The key to lasting change, Alan insists, lies always within.
And Alan doesn't just leave us with abstract metaphors or philosophical ideas. He gives us concrete, sometimes uncomfortably direct examples of this thought-to-circumstance transformation, what he calls the harvest of thoughts.
Yeah, the harvest.
He says every thought seed sown or allowed to fall into the mind and to take root there produces its own, blossoming sooner or later into act and bearing its own fruitage of opportunity and circumstance. Good thoughts bear good fruit, bad thoughts bad fruit. It's like an iron law, he says, with clear consequences.
He provides specific and often quite stark illustrative examples to really hammer this point home. Consider the poor man who consistently shirks his work, maybe deceives his employer. This pattern of thinking and acting, Alan argues, inevitably attracts deeper wretchedness and lack.
Makes sense.
Or the wealthy man suffering from, say, gluttony and physical ailments because he's unwilling to sacrifice his immediate desires for long-term health. Alan argues he's simply unfit for lasting well-being, regardless of his money.
Right. The money doesn't protect him from his inner choices.
Exactly. And the dishonest employer who systematically reduces wages or cheats his staff, hoping for bigger profits. Alan explicitly states such a man finds himself eventually bankrupt in both reputation and true riches. The author clarifies these aren't just isolated cases, but are illustrative of the truth that man is the causer, though nearly always is unconsciously, of his circumstances.
Unconsciously, yeah, that's key.
He suggests that true, sustainable prosperity and genuine health come from inner harmony and right thought, not just external acquisition or manipulation.
It's a tough mirror to look into, maybe. It definitely challenges our common narratives of victimhood or just external bad luck. But for me, it's also profoundly liberating. It means the ultimate power to change your life is truly yours. Now, Alan does add an important nuance here, which is crucial for understanding his full perspective. He says, a man may be honest in certain directions, yet suffer privations. A man may be dishonest in certain directions, yet acquire wealth.
Okay. So it's not always black and white on the surface.
Exactly. He cautions against superficial judgment, explaining that the great law is perfectly just. Good thoughts yield good outcomes. Evil thoughts yield evil outcomes. But our understanding of all an individual's thoughts, all their complex inner workings, is limited. So we can't always see the full, intricate tapestry of cause and effect just by looking from the outside.
That's a critical insight for daily application, and one that often gets overlooked, I think. Alan identifies a pervasive problem he calls fighting against circumstances.
Fighting against them.
Yeah, which he explains as a man is continually revolting against an effect without, while all the time he is nourishing and preserving its cause in his heart.
Oof. Like punching smoke.
Exactly. He's saying essentially that people are often anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. This, he argues, requires what he calls self-crucifixion, which is a powerful term. It essentially means a disciplined self-overcoming, a willingness to sacrifice old, comfortable, yet destructive thought patterns.
Self-crucifixion. That sounds intense.
It is. But if you genuinely want to change something fundamental in your life, Alan insists you must be willing to identify and change the inner thoughts and beliefs that are creating or perpetuating it. This demands active self-observation and disciplined mental work. Often uncomfortable work, maybe, but ultimately the most rewarding.
And if you don't fundamentally address the root cause, you'll just keep getting the same effect over and over again. It's that simple and that profound. This idea of persistent thought patterns creating specific circumstances leads directly to a fascinating concept Alan describes: the crystallization of thought.
Crystallization.
Yes. He notes that men imagine that thought can be kept secret, but it cannot. It rapidly crystallizes into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstance. This isn't abstract. It's a tangible, almost physical process he illustrates really vividly.
He provides incredibly vivid and detailed examples of this crystallization, showing the direct line from thought to habit, circumstance. For instance, he says, bestial thoughts, thoughts consumed by base appetites or crude desires, they crystallize into habits of drunkenness and sensuality. And these then inevitably solidify into circumstances of destitution and disease. The body and life literally break down under the weight of that kind of internal indulgence.
Wow. Direct line.
Impure thoughts, even if you don't act on them, just harboring them internally. Alan says they lead to enervating and confusing habits, solidifying into distracting and adverse circumstances in your life, creating both inner and outer chaos.
Inner and outer chaos.
Thoughts of fear, doubt, and indecision, those constant internal anxieties and waverings, they crystallize into weak, irresolute habits, which then solidify into circumstances of failure, indigence, which means poverty or extreme lack, and this kind of slavish dependence on others or external factors.
But he contrasts this too, right, with positive crystallization.
Oh, absolutely. Conversely, consider the transformative power. Beautiful thoughts, ideas of kindness, harmony, aesthetic appreciation, they crystallize into habits of grace and kindliness, which solidify into genial and sunny circumstances, attracting warmth and light.
Nice.
Pure thoughts, unselfish, clear, focused thoughts, they lead to temperance and self-control, solidifying into repose and peace, creating an inner and outer sense of calm and order.
Calm and order, yeah.
Loving and unselfish thoughts centered on the well-being of others, they crystallize into habits of self-forgetfulness for others, which solidify into circumstances of sure and abiding prosperity and true riches, attracting genuine abundance. He emphasizes that a particular train of thought persisted in, be it good or bad, cannot fail to produce its results on the character and circumstances. This is not a suggestion. He presents it as a law.
So the message here is just crystal clear. You cannot directly choose your circumstances. But you can always choose your thoughts. And by choosing your thoughts, you indirectly, yet surely, shape your circumstances. Alan describes it beautifully, saying, the world is your kaleidoscope.
Love that metaphor.
And the varying combinations of colors, which at every succeeding moment it presents to you, are the exquisitely adjusted pictures of your ever-moving thoughts. This means the picture of your life, the patterns you see, are a direct consequence of how you are turning the lens of your inner thoughts.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it profoundly underscores the immense responsibility, but also the immense freedom that comes with recognizing the direct, tangible power of our inner world. Alan encapsulates this with a powerful poetic bit. So, you will be what you will to be. Let failure find its false content in that poor word, environment, but spirit scorns it and is free.
Spirit scorns it.
Yeah.
Powerful.
This isn't just abstract theory. It's an urgent, empowering invitation to take active, conscious control of your mental habits, knowing that every thought you entertain is a building block, a brushstroke, a seed of your future. It's about designing your life, literally one thought at a time.
And as we move from how our thoughts shape external circumstances, let's zoom in even further to the most intimate, immediate, and maybe surprising external manifestation of our thoughts, our own physical bodies.
Right.
Because Alan argues that your mind doesn't just shape your bank account or your social standing, but your very health, your physical form, and maybe even how you age. Okay, this is where James Allen really gets down to brass tacks about the direct, tangible impact of your thoughts on your physical health and body. He declares, with remarkable foresight for his time, I think, that the body is the servant of the mind. It obeys the operations of the mind, whether they be deliberately chosen or automatically executed.
Servant of the mind.
Yeah, this is a pretty radical statement, directly connecting what he calls unlawful thoughts to disease and decay, and conversely, glad and beautiful thoughts to youthfulness, vigor, and even physical beauty.
It's truly fascinating how prescient Alan was. Modern science, like centuries later, is just catching up to this deep understanding of the mind-body connection in incredible ways through fields like psychoneuroimmunology.
Psychoneuroimmunology, say that 5 times faster.
Right. But for our listeners, it's simply the study of how our psychological processes, our thoughts, feelings, our nervous system, and our immune system all interact. It explores the biological pathways through which chronic stress, anxiety, or specific thought patterns can directly impact our cellular health, our susceptibility to illness, our overall physical resilience.
So it's real science now.
Absolutely. Alan gives incredibly vivid examples. He says sickly thoughts will inevitably express themselves through a sickly body. He even claims, kind of chillingly, that fear can kill as speedily as a bullet.
What?
And is continually killing thousands of people, maybe less rapidly, but by gradually eroding their vitality. People who consistently live in fear of disease, he asserts, are often the very people who eventually manifest it.
That makes intuitive sense, though.
It does. He notes that anxiety quickly demoralizes the whole body, laying it open to various diseases, while impure thoughts, even if you don't act on them, will soon shatter the nervous system. Conversely, strong, pure, and happy thoughts build up the body in vigor, grace, and enduring health. The body, he insists, is this delicate and plastic instrument that responds readily and precisely to thought impressions.
So it's far from just woo-woo thinking, as
Yeah.
some might say. It's presented as a fundamental principle of how our entire being operates. If your inner narrative is one of constant worry, negativity, self-criticism, or unresolved fear, your body is literally listening, and it's responding at a cellular level. This means that to genuinely improve your physical well-being, you can't just focus on diet and exercise, though those are obviously important. You must fundamentally address the thoughts and mental states that are shaping your internal chemistry and physical expression. It's a truly holistic, integrated approach to health. Decades ahead of its time, really.
Alan further emphasizes this profound connection by stating that out of a clean heart comes a clean life and a clean body. Out of a defiled mind proceeds a defiled life and a corrupt body.
Clean heart, clean body, defiled mind, corrupt body. It's very direct.
Very direct. Thought is the fount of action, life, and manifestation. Make the fountain pure, and all will be pure. He directly contrasts this with superficial fixes, stating quite provocatively, change of diet will not help a man who will not change his thoughts.
Ooh, controversial maybe?
A bit. He follows with, when a man makes his thoughts pure, he no longer desires impure food. And even more boldly, maybe for emphasis, he who has strengthened and purified his thoughts does not need to consider the malevolent microbe.
Okay, that's a pretty bold claim about the microbe. We still need to wash our hands, right?
Yes. Let's assume basic hygiene still applies. But the core message for us, for you, the listener, is abundantly clear. This isn't about blaming the sick or feeling guilty about your health. Not at all.
Right. It's about empowerment.
Exactly. It's about empowering everyone to understand the profound internal levers they can pull for their own health and vitality. If you would protect your body, Alan urges, guard your mind. If you would truly renew your body, beautify your mind. It places the ultimate power for sustained well-being directly in your hands.
Which means consciously choosing what you feed your mind, just as carefully and deliberately as you choose what you feed your body.
And the effects of these inner states aren't just internal. Alan argues they're often visibly manifest. He delves into how the face as a canvas of thought literally reveals our inner states.
The face is a canvas. Interesting.
Thoughts of malice, envy, disappointment, despondency, he says, literally rob the body of its health and its natural grace. A sour face has not come by chance. It is made by sour thoughts.
Made by sour thoughts.
Wrinkles that mar are drawn by folly, passion, and pride. The lines on your face, the expression you carry, they aren't merely genetic or age-related in his view. They are etched by your predominant thought patterns.
He shares that beautiful, almost poetic anecdote about the woman of 96 with the bright, innocent face of a young girl, right? Attributing it to her sweet and sunny disposition maintained throughout her life. And he contrasts that starkly with a man under middle age whose face was already drawn into these harsh, inharmonious contours from years of, well, passion and discontent.
Yeah.
It's a powerful, undeniable reminder that taking care of your mental landscape, cultivating positive and peaceful thoughts, is literally taking care of your physical self. You are, quite literally, painting your future self with every thought you entertain today.
And for daily application in fostering a more vibrant physical self, Alan beautifully advises, as you cannot have a sweet and wholesome abode unless you admit the air and sunshine freely into your rooms.
Would delight in.
So a strong body and a bright, happy, or serene countenance can only result from the free admittance into the mind of thoughts of joy and goodwill and serenity. And perhaps his most comforting assertion in this whole section. There is no physician like cheerful thought for dissipating the ills of the body. There is no comforter to compare with goodwill for dispersing the shadows of grief and sorrow.
Cheerful thought is medicine. Goodwill is comfort.
It truly underscores that our mental state isn't just about feeling good emotionally, but about being profoundly, deeply well in every sense of the word.
So if our thoughts affect our circumstances and our very bodies, the next logical step is, how do we direct this powerful, creative energy with deliberate purpose? Because drifting aimlessly, as Alan will tell us, is a sure, well-trodden path to nowhere good and often to considerable suffering. Okay, now that we understand our thoughts are these powerful creative forces, the next logical and absolute crucial question is, how do we effectively direct that immense energy? James Allen is crystal clear on this.
No ambiguity here.
None. Until thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. He goes as far as to call aimlessness a vice, like a detrimental habit.
A vice, yeah. Strong word.
It is. He states that those without a central, guiding purpose fall an easy prey to petty worries, fears, troubles, and self-pityings, which inevitably, as a matter of law in his view, lead to failure, unhappiness, and loss. It's like that ship without a rudder again, just drifting at sea, vulnerable to every little storm and current, ending up wherever the winds of circumstance happen to blow it.
And what's truly fascinating here is his underlying reasoning for why purpose is so essential. He states, weakness cannot persist in a power-evolving universe.
A power-evolving universe.
Interesting phrase. Isn't it? This isn't just a suggestion for personal improvement. It implies that purpose isn't merely a good idea. It's a fundamental requirement for sustained growth, effectiveness, and indeed, maybe even survival in the universe as he perceives it. Without a central point, without a clear aim, your thoughts are scattered, fragmented, they dissipate their energy. And scattered thoughts will always produce scattered, ineffective, and ultimately unfulfilling results.
Makes sense.
This means that to operate effectively and thrive, you need a powerful inner compass, your purpose.
So how do we find and cultivate this essential centralizing point of thought that Allen talks about?
Well, he advises that a person should conceive of a legitimate purpose in his heart and set out to accomplish it. This purpose then becomes the unwavering, centralizing point of his thoughts.
In his heart again, that deep core.
Exactly. It can be a grand spiritual ideal, a noble cause, or maybe a more worldly and tangible objective, depending on where you are in your journey right now. But whatever it is, he says, you should make it your supreme duty and devote yourself wholeheartedly to its attainment. And importantly, meticulously not allowing your thoughts to wander into ephemeral fancies, longings, and imaginings, meaning those fleeting whims or idle daydreams that just distract and dilute your mental energy.
So focus is key. Supreme duty, that strong language.
It emphasizes the critical importance of consistency and unwavering focus. It's not enough to simply have a purpose. You must consistently direct your thoughts, your energies, your daily actions towards it. And what's truly remarkable, and I find incredibly liberating, is his redefinition of failure.
Ah, yes, this part.
He states that even if you fail again and again to accomplish your immediate purpose, the strength of character gain will be the measure of his true success, and this will form a new starting point for future power and triumph.
So the real success is the character building.
That's what he suggests. This raises an important question about how we define success. Allen suggests it's less about the immediate external outcome and far more about the invaluable character forged, the inner resilience developed, and the wisdom gained through the dedicated pursuit itself.
That's incredibly liberating, isn't it? It means every perceived failure is actually a crucial step on the ladder of character and inner strength, laying the groundwork for future victories. And for those folks who feel they haven't yet discovered some grand, overarching purpose, Allen offers incredibly practical and actionable advice.
He does, which is great.
He says, those who are not prepared for the apprehension of a great purpose should fix the thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear.
Faultless performance of duty.
This, he says, builds essential focus, unwavering resolution, and concentrated energy, which then can be applied to increasingly larger and more complex aims.
So the discipline carries over.
Exactly. So if you want to implement this today, start small. Take one seemingly minor task you do daily, making your bed, answering emails, preparing a meal, and commit to its faultless, mindful performance with focused thought. The discipline in the small things builds the capacity for the grand ones.
And once that purpose is conceived and you begin directing your thoughts, Allen points to the great internal enemies you must conquer if you wish to succeed: doubt and fear.
Ah, the big ones.
The big ones. He says they should be rigorously excluded. They are disintegrating elements which break up the straight line of effort, rendering it crooked, ineffectual, useless. He is unequivocal, almost stern here. Thoughts of doubt and fear never accomplished anything and never can. They always lead to failure.
Never can. Wow.
He explains that the fundamental will to do, that inner drive, springs directly from the knowledge that we can do it. Doubt and fear are the great enemies of this knowledge, and he who encourages them, who does not slay them, thwarts himself at every single step.
So it's not just about what you want to do or even what you plan to do, but about what you genuinely believe you can do deep down. and then fiercely protecting that belief from any internal or external erosion.
Precisely.
He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power, and all difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. This isn't just about superficial positive thinking. It's about cultivating a deep, unshakable inner conviction and resilience that allows you to move through obstacles, not just around them. This is the absolute foundation for directing your energy purposefully and effectively.
And this leads to his powerful conclusion for this section. Thought allied fearlessly to purpose becomes creative force.
Creative force.
He who truly knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers. It profoundly emphasizes that this isn't a passive state, but an active, continuous, and highly conscious process of mental direction and purification. For you, the listener, this means regularly checking in with your thoughts, identifying where doubt or fear might be subtly creeping in, and then actively, deliberately realigning your mental focus with your central purpose. It's an ongoing internal vigilance.
With purpose now firmly set and understood, let's explore how this directed thought directly drives achievement in all areas of life. Because as we've repeatedly seen, it's not just about what you wish for, it's about what you think and, crucially, how you channel that thought. So how does this profound philosophy tie directly into actually achieving your aims, whether that's in your personal life, your professional career, some creative pursuit, or any other significant endeavor? Alan grounds it all in what he calls absolute individual responsibility.
Absolute no wiggle room there.
Not much. He asserts with powerful conviction, all that a man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is the direct result of his own thoughts. Your weakness and your strength, your purity and your impurity, he insists, are his own and not another man's. They are brought about by himself and not by another, and they can only be altered by himself, never by another.
This is a profound and often, let's be honest, challenging perspective for many people to fully embrace. It fundamentally strips away external excuses and places the locus of control entirely within the individual. Alan even extends this to the oppressor-slaves dynamic, which at first glance might seem really counterintuitive.
Yeah, that part caught my eye.
He argues that oppressor and slave are cooperators in ignorance, and while seeming to afflict each other, are in reality afflicting themselves.
Cooperators in ignorance.
What he's saying, I think, is that even in situations of perceived external subjugation, there is often an inner thought pattern, an internal allowing or cooperation, maybe unconscious, that perpetuates the dynamic. True freedom, he suggests, comes not just from fighting the external oppressor, but crucially, from conquering weakness and selfish thoughts within oneself first.
That requires radical self-accountability.
It really does. For daily application, instead of looking outward for blame or external solutions, you are encouraged to look deeply inward. Asking yourself, what are my specific thought patterns, my beliefs, my internal narratives that might be contributing to my current situation, especially where I feel stuck or limited?
It's about accepting that powerful, sometimes uncomfortable truth. As he thinks, so he is. As he continues to think, so he remains.
It's ongoing.
This means the undeniable path to achievement, to truly rising above any current limitation or perceived disadvantage, is by consistently lifting up your thoughts. Conversely, he warns, you can only remain weak, abject, and miserable by actively refusing to lift up your thoughts, by clinging to lower, unhelpful mental states. It's presented as a choice, really, in every moment.
And this lifting of thoughts, Alan clarifies, isn't always easy or without effort. In fact, he states unequivocally, there can be no progress, no achievement without sacrifice.
Sacrifice again.
Yes. And this isn't just about sacrificing material things like time or money, though those can certainly be part of it. Primarily, he means sacrificing confused animal thoughts, those base, impulsive, or instinct-driven thoughts, along with selfishness, self-pity, and various base indulgences.
So sacrificing the lower self, essentially.
That's a good way to put it. He explains that worldly success, even in practical terms like business, is measured by the sacrifice of these lower thoughts and the disciplined fixation of the mind on clear plans, unwavering resolution, and unwavering self-reliance. The higher he lifts his thoughts, the more manly, upright, and righteous he becomes, the greater will be his success, the more blessed and enduring will be his achievements.
It's about fundamental alignment, isn't it? When your inner world, Your thoughts, your character, your principles aligns with higher, more virtuous principles. The outer world almost seems to conspire to help you. Allen even states, perhaps controversially in a world that often seems to reward ruthless behavior, that the universe does not favor the greedy, the dishonest, the vicious, although on the mere surface it may sometimes appear to do so.
Right, the surface appearance can be deceiving.
It helps the honest, the magnanimous, the virtuous. This, he declares, is a universal law proclaimed by all the great teachers of the ages, a truth woven into the very fabric of existence, even if we sometimes misunderstand its immediate manifestations.
And this emphasizes that the principles of thought-driven achievement aren't domain-specific. They apply across all areas of life. Allen posits that intellectual achievements, for example, are directly from thought consecrated to the search for knowledge, a focused and disciplined mental pursuit of understanding.
Consecrated thought.
Spiritual achievements are the consummation of holy aspirations, the highest and purest thoughts manifesting. He states with clarity that all achievements, whether in the business, intellectual, or spiritual world, are the result of definitely directed thought, are governed by the same law, and are of the same method. The only difference lies in the object of attainment.
The mechanism is the same, just the target changes.
Exactly.
The message is consistent and maybe a bit uncomfortable for modern sensibilities that often seek shortcuts. You have to pay the price.
Yeah.
He who would accomplish little must sacrifice little. He who would achieve much must sacrifice much. He who would attain highly must sacrifice greatly.
No free lunch.
Pretty much. There's no escaping the law of effort and sacrifice for great achievement, according to Allen. And crucially, he warns that victories gained by right thought can only be maintained by watchfulness.
Maintenance is key.
Right. Many, he notes, fail after initial success because they relax, they give way to old, complacent thought patterns. So to apply this directly to your life, what are your daily sacrifices? What specific lower thought patterns or unproductive habits are you willing to consciously let go of, to crucify, as he puts it, in order to achieve your higher goals? It's an ongoing vigilance, not a one-time decision.
It's a continuous process of self-mastery, not a one-time event. This really highlights that achievement is not merely about doing, but fundamentally about being. Being the kind of person whose thoughts naturally attract and create the desired results. From achievement, we naturally transition to the even grander concept of building our future through the cultivation of powerful visions and ideals. Because as we've seen, every truly great achievement, every lasting innovation always begins as an internal blueprint, an unseen dream.
Right. If achievement flows from directed thought, where do those grand directions, those compelling aspirations actually come from? James Allen tells us they emerge from visions and ideals. He makes a truly powerful, almost poetic statement right at the start of this section. The dreamers are the saviors of the world.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
It is. He believes that the visible world is sustained by the invisible visions, the inner blueprints of solitary dreamers. Humanity, he says, lives in them. It knows them as the realities which it shall one day see and know.
So our reality is built on dreams.
It's a profound idea. Our shared reality is constantly being shaped by the unseen dreams of individuals. This isn't about being impractical or having your head in the clouds. It's about recognizing that every great creation, every advance in human history, started as an unseen thought, a cherished ideal.
This completely challenges the common dismissal of dreams as just impractical fantasies. Allen presents them not as idle whims, but as the fundamental archetypes of creation, the very architects of progress, he states. Composer, sculptor, painter, poet, prophet, Silba, these are the makers of the afterworld, the architects of heaven. Without them, laboring humanity would perish, just adrift without direction or inspiration.
Architects of heaven.
He offers compelling, illustrative examples from history. Columbus's unwavering vision of another world across the sea, Copernicus's audacious vision of a wider heliocentric universe, Buddha's profound vision of a spiritual world of perfect peace and liberation. All of these were first internal visions that were eventually, painstakingly, realized and manifested in the physical world. This means that every great creation, every significant advance, every transformative change, whether in science, art, or society, started as an unseen thought, a deeply cherished ideal within the mind of a visionary.
So the call to action here for you, our listener, is exceptionally clear and deeply personal. Cherish your visions, cherish your ideals, cherish the music that stirs in your heart, the beauty that forms in your mind, the loveliness that drapes your purest thoughts.
Cherish them. Don't dismiss them.
For out of them will grow all delightful conditions, all heavenly environment. Of these, if you but remain true to them, your world will at last be built.
That's beautiful.
This is Alan's profound and deeply spiritual version of what we might today call the law of attraction or the power of manifestation. But it seems rooted in diligent mental work, not just wishing.
Right, it's active.
He states, almost as a universal law, to desire is to obtain, to aspire is to achieve. And he asks this rhetorical question that really cuts to the heart of it. Shall man's basest desires receive the fullest measure of gratification, and his purest aspirations starve for lack of sustenance? Such is not the law. Such a condition of things can never obtain. Ask and receive. He insists this is a fundamental principle of the universe. You get what you truly deeply ask for through sustained thought.
He truly believes that dreams are the seedlings of realities, the dormant potential just waiting to sprout. Dream lofty dreams, and as you dream, so shall you become.
As you dream, so shall you become.
Your vision is the promise of what you shall one day be. Your ideal is a prophecy of what you shall at last unveil. He illustrates this with powerful metaphors. The greatest achievement was at first and for a time a dream. The oak sleeps in the acorn, the bird waits in the egg, and in the highest vision of the soul, a waking angel stirs. Dreams are the seedlings of realities.
A waking angel, wow.
This challenges the idea that dreams are idle fantasies or something just relegated to childhood. Here they are presented as the essential raw material, the very blueprint for creation. For daily life, this means actively setting aside time to consciously envision your ideal future. Write it down, meditate on it, maybe create a vision board, and most importantly, consistently align your daily actions and thoughts with that ideal.
So what are your most cherished dreams for yourself, your life, your impact?
Yeah, what are they? This is an active, ongoing, and profoundly creative process he's describing.
And to make this even more tangible, Alan gives us that powerful, relatable anecdote to illustrate this transformation of circumstance through the power of an ideal. The story of the youth.
Ah, yes, the youth in the workshop.
Exactly. This youth, he describes, is hard-pressed by poverty and labor, working in an unhealthy workshop, and is unschooled. Pretty tough circumstances. Yet despite these difficult external conditions, he dreams of better things. He envisions a life of intelligence, refinement, grace, beauty. He mentally builds an ideal condition of life for himself and meticulously utilizes all his spare time and means for developing his latent powers and resources, meaning he studies, he learns, he hones his mind relentlessly.
And what happens through this consistent, deliberate mental effort, Alan beautifully describes it. His mind changes so profoundly that the unhealthy workshop can literally no longer hold him.
Wow.
It falls out of his life as a garment is cast aside. Opportunities that align with his expanding inner powers suddenly manifest, and he passes out of that limiting environment forever.
As a garment is cast aside.
Years later, this same youth has become a master of certain forces of the mind, which he wields with worldwide influence and almost unequaled power. He had, in every sense, realized the vision of his youth.
Incredible story.
And this story directly addresses you, the listener, as Alan concludes. And you too, youthful reader, will realize the vision, not the idle wish of your heart, be it base or beautiful or a mixture of both, for you will always gravitate for that which you secretly most love.
Secretly most love.
Yeah.
Interesting qualifier.
Into your hands will be placed the exact results of your own thoughts. You will receive that which you earn, no more, no less. Whatever your present environment may be, you will fall, remain, or rise with your thoughts, your vision, your ideal.
This is a powerful, undeniable call to be a conscious creator of your life, not a passive observer, not a victim of circumstance. Alan directly dismantles the common modern notions of luck and chance.
Yeah, he really takes aim at that.
He says that the thoughtless, the ignorant, and the indolent often talk of luck because they only see the apparent external effects, the final success. They fail to see the invisible internal journey, the trials and failures and struggles, the countless sacrifices, the undaunted efforts, and the unwavering faith that genuinely led to that success. They don't see the long, arduous, often lonely journey, only the pleasant goal.
It's too easy to dismiss someone's success as just luck, rather than acknowledging the immense mental and physical effort, the thought effort that went into it.
Exactly.
He concludes this section with a truly inspiring and foundational statement that encapsulates the entire message of visions and ideals. The vision that you glorify in your mind, the ideal that you enthrone in your heart, this you will build your life by, this you will become.
Enthroned in your heart.
It's a profound testament to the ultimate transformative power of sustained, focused, pure thought in shaping your entire reality. This is the ultimate self-fulfilling prophecy, but crucially, one that you actively and deliberately choose and cultivate with every fiber of your being.
And as we consider this culmination of thought, purpose, and vision, we arrive at what Alan describes as the ultimate state of mind achieved through this mastery: serenity. It's the crown jewel, really, the ultimate inner wealth of this entire transformative process. So we've talked about shaping character, circumstances, health, purpose, achievement. Now we arrive at what James Allen considers the zenith of wisdom, the ultimate state of mastery: serenity.
Peak of the mountain, perhaps?
Maybe so. He describes calmness of mind as one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. But it's not a gift you're born with, he says, nor is it just a state of passive indifference. No. Instead, it is the result of long and patient effort in self-control.
Long and patient effort.
It indicates, he suggests, ripened experience and more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought.
This isn't about suppressing emotion or becoming, unfeeling or robotic. It's about reaching a deeper level of understanding and mastery that sort of transcends the turbulence of everyday life. A person becomes truly calm, Alan explains, by fundamentally understanding themselves as a thought-evolved being. This profound self-understanding and naturally leads to a deep understanding and empathy for others, too.
Okay.
This understanding of universal cause and effect of how thoughts create reality eventually leads the individual to cease to fuss and fume and worry and grieve and remains poised, steadfast, serene. It's an active state born of profound self-knowledge and consistent mental discipline, not simply a lack of external stressors.
Poised, steadfast, serene.
Yeah.
And the influence of the calm person, Alan notes, extends powerfully outward. The calm person knows how to govern themselves and adapt harmoniously to others, naturally earning deep reverence and respect. Alan states, the more tranquil a man becomes, the greater is his success, his influence, his power for good, even in practical terms.
Yes, he even points out that ordinary traders, those in everyday business, find their prosperity and success increases significantly with greater self-control and equanimity because people naturally prefer to deal with a man whose demeanor is strongly equable.
That makes sense. You trust someone who's calm under pressure.
Exactly. It just makes good business sense, let alone good sense for your soul. He uses beautiful, evocative metaphors to describe this profound state, portraying the strong, calm person as like a shade-giving tree in a thirsty land or a sheltering rock in a storm.
Sheltering rock.
These are sources of refuge and stability in a chaotic world. He contrasts this deep, abiding serenity, which he says is more to be desired than gold, yea, than even fine gold, with mere money-seeking. A serene life, he beautifully describes, dwells in the ocean of truth, beneath the waves, beyond the reach of tempests, in the eternal calm.
In the eternal calm. It's the ultimate inner wealth, isn't it? The kind no external force can possibly take away. A peace that transcends all understanding, as they say. It's truly a state of ultimate internal freedom, an unshakable inner core. Alan doesn't shy away from pointing out how most people, though, through their unconscious thought patterns, sour their lives, ruin all that is sweet and beautiful by explosive tempers, destroy their poise of character, and make bad blood by chronic lack of self-control.
He paints a pretty bleak picture of the alternative.
He does. Humanity, he laments, often surges with uncontrolled passion, is tumultuous with ungoverned grief, is blown about by anxiety and doubt like a fragile boat on a stormy sea. I know for me, recognizing how much of my own inner turmoil often came from my own thoughts was incredibly humbling, but also deeply empowering eventually. It's hard work, but the reward, that potential for calm, is immense.
And he offers a stark contrast to this common human experience. Only the wise man, only he whose thoughts are controlled and purified, makes the winds and the storms of the soul obey him.
Makes the storms obey him.
Yeah. He then directly addresses you, the listener, in a truly poetic and powerful call to action. Tempest-tossed souls, wherever ye may be, under whatsoever conditions ye may live, know this: in the ocean of life the isles of blessedness are smiling, and the sunny shore of your ideal awaits your coming.
The Isles of Blessedness.
Keep your hand firmly upon the helm of thought. In the bark of your soul reclines the commanding master. He does but sleep. Wake him.
Wake the master. Wow. That's a powerful, inspiring image. A latent power within each of us just waiting to be consciously activated and commanded. It's about realizing that the ultimate authority over your inner state resides right within you.
Exactly. It's an invitation to awaken that inner master, that commanding force within your own consciousness. He beautifully summarizes the path to this ultimate inner power with 3 foundational pillars. Self-control is strength, right thought is mastery, calmness is power.
Strength, mastery, power.
And then the simple command, say into your heart, peace, be still.
Like calming the storm within. For daily application, this means actively cultivating that peace, be still in your own life. This could involve daily reflection on your mental state, conscious thought management techniques, or engaging in regular mindfulness practices like meditation, maybe even just for 5 minutes a day to start.
It's an active, continuous process of conscious mental direction and purification, leading ultimately, hopefully, to an unshakable core of peace.
It's the ultimate expression of living a life by deliberate design, rather than merely by default.
And it truly is a journey worth embarking on, I believe. #outro.
Wow. We've journeyed through the profound, really timeless insights of James Allen's As a Man Thinketh, seeing how literally as a man thinketh in his heart, so he fundamentally becomes. We've explored how your thoughts are the master weavers, the architects of your character, how they directly influence your circumstances, profoundly impact your physical health, provide a guiding purpose, drive all your achievements, fuel your grandest visions and ideals,
And ultimately,
lead to that coveted, unshakable state of serenity.
the consistent thread woven throughout all of Allen's work, I think, is one of profound empowerment. It's the understanding that the greatest leverage for fundamental change and lasting improvement in your life lies not in trying to manipulate external conditions, which is often futile,
Right.
but in diligently and consciously cultivating the internal landscape of your mind. It's a powerful call to move beyond merely reacting to life and instead consciously and purposefully participate in its creation, recognizing your inherent power.
So, as you go about your day-to-day, maybe just pause and truly observe, what thoughts are you actively cultivating in the garden of your mind right now? What vision, what ideal are you holding firm and cherishing as your blueprint? Are you actively wielding the helm of thought, consciously steering your bark, or are you maybe letting it drift aimlessly on the ocean of life? It's a question worth asking, maybe every single day.
And perhaps a final thought to mull over. If thought is indeed the fundamental creative force, the very engine of manifestation, and our external reality is merely its crystallization, what then is the true ultimate nature of reality itself beyond our individual perceptions? And how might our collective thoughts, our shared beliefs and aspirations be profoundly shaping the very world we all share?
Ooh, a truly powerful thought to leave you with, isn't it? Thank you for diving deep with us into this transformative philosophy today.